Hello! In this video, we are going to look at how to use the Temp, or the melting temp apparatus. It's a great machine, but basically what it does, it's a glorified oven and it heats your compound. You're thinking, well, why would I want to do that? Well, if a compound is pure, it will melt close to the melting temperature that is reported in the literature. If it's not pure, it won't be that close. So let's begin. First, what you will need is a capillary tube. Now make sure this capillary tube is closed on one end and open on the other. Put your compound that you're investigating on a watch glass. You really only need a few grains, so don't worry if you don't have too much. Take your capillary tube and turn the open end down. You will then carefully tap the crystals so that several particles of the compound goes into the tube. At this point, you will slowly tap the compound down into the tube. Be careful not to break the capillary tube as you gently tap. Voila! Again, you only need a few crystals on the bottom. You don't need much. The Temp apparatus is made up of these parts: the viewing circle, the hole at the top through which you will put your sample, the on button, and the interface. The interface has two windows. The top window will tell you the actual temperature of the oven, and the bottom window will tell you the number that you're trying to set. So let's begin. First, turn the machine on. Second, you need to think about, well, what should I set the oven at? If you were making brownies, you wouldn't just randomly cook it at 800 degrees. You gotta look at the recipe. Similarly, you need to decide, well, what temperature should I melt this at? If the literature, for example, says that it melts at 70, you wanna start about 15 to 20 degrees below and then heat to 15 to 20 degrees above. So, if this melts at 70, we want to start at 55. So what you do is you push the button that says set, and you'll see the word start at the bottom screen. Right now it is set at 66. We want it to start melting at 55. So push the down button until you get to the number 55. Use the up button if you overshoot it. Now we've set our start temperature, but I want the oven to stop at 15 above 70, so that would be 85. Here we go. Push set again, and you should see the word end. Again, using the up and down arrows, ramp it up to your desired end temperature, which is so not 109. 85. This is so hard to do upside down. Now, we need to tell the oven how fast to go through that range. If you're doing what I call a quick and dirty, you can actually do a very high rate because you're just trying to see ballpark what it melts at. But if you really want to know if this is pure, we suggest a ramp of 2 to 2.2 degrees Celsius per minute. So push set again, and the word rate will show up. Again, we want to do a good job on this one because I'm pretty sure it's clean. So we're going to do 2.2. At this point, we push set again. What this does is it tells the oven to get ready. It has not started its ramp. You will know when it's ready when the light flashes and it gives you a telltale beep. Some models won't have a beep, so you need to be aware of when it's ready. Now we are ready. We are going to take our compound and gently put it in the hole at the top. If you look down into the machine, you will see 3 slots. You therefore can do 3 samples at one time. Pretty cool. Make sure you remember which slot you put it in. If the capillary tube does not go down or get stuck, do not shove it down there. It's a lot of work to get these things out. Call your instructor and they'll figure out what to do because that's what they're paid to do. Now, if you're only doing one sample, keep track of which slot you're putting your sample in case somebody else wants to put it on the one end. You don't want to get them confused. Make sure you can see the crystals through the viewing slot. If you cannot see the crystals, either take the capillary out, re-tap, or put into another chamber so that you can clearly see what you're melting. We're ready to go. So what we do now is we push ramp. This tells the machine to ramp up its temperature. It will not start until you actually push ramp. How will you know if it's working? You'll see the top temperature slowly ramp or rise up. You must be careful to not leave the machine, and I know waiting is a hard thing to do. Some students will go and do other things, wash up, and before they know it, it's melted, and they have to repeat the whole procedure again. What you're looking for in the melting process is what's called the sweat point and the end melt point. You know when you sweat, you get beads of liquid on your face? Similarly, you're going to see little beads of liquid start to show on the walls of the capillary tube. Write this temperature down. That's the beginning of the melting phase. Once the solid is completely clear and liquid, then you know it has melted. Record that temperature as well. That final temperature is the temperature that you will use to compare to the literature value. It must be within 2 degrees of the book value for it to be considered pure. Don't forget, you can't just leave, throw this away and turn it off. This is a very sophisticated piece of machinery. It likes to calm down. So what we need to do is cool it. Well, you're thinking, well, why not just turn it off? This oven gets hot and it needs time to cool down slowly. Here's how you do it. What we're going to do is we're going to set it again. So once the window says start, we're going to pretend that we're setting another run. We need to turn it down to room temperature, which is about 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. So using your up and down buttons, bring the start temperature back down to 30 to 35. Push set again. It does not matter what the end temperature is. Push set again, and you may do a fast rate if you wish to help speed this up. Push set again, and then push cool. At that point, it will cool down to about 30 to 35, the temperature you just set. At that point, you may then turn off the machine. Newer models, such as the SRS model, will actually automatically cool itself to room temperature, so you do not need to do this procedure. You only need to do this reset procedure with the blue MELTEMP apparatus. And that is how you do a melting point apparatus analysis.